right. Well, thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon. This is going to be a truly fantastic panel, and I'm really, really excited to have everyone here. There's going to be folks joining us as we move through. I may repeat a few housekeeping items, but just at the top, this is being recorded. If you have questions, please look at the end and you'll see a Q&A button at the top at your screen, and you'll be able to drop questions in there. Please drop questions in the Q&A button space. And I and my colleague Don will be taking a look at those, and we'll be making sure to bring your questions forward for the panelists, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. I just want to thank everyone for joining us today to talk a little bit about how to reduce plastic and how to have leaders like our business leaders and restaurant leaders take a role in building a more sustainable future for us here in the Great Lakes Basin. My name is Andrea Densham. I'm with the Alliance for the Great Lakes. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor. We're really honored today to have Illinois Senator Laura Fine. We have representatives from Surfrider, CJ O'Brien. We have Mitch's Seafood doing the work in the ground in San Diego, and Elisa Tripp is here representing them, as well as our friends from Shed Aquarium and Allison Richards. And soon we will have plastic-free restaurants here as well to talk about a really great opportunity for those business owners and restaurants who want to be able to move forward on supporting sustainable seafood work and keeping our restaurants healthy and clean. So, as many of you know, those of us in the Great Lakes, we receive much of our drinking water from the Great Lakes itself. In fact, 40 million people receive their drinking water from our Great Lakes. We also know from the Adopt a Beach program that the Alliance for the Great Lakes runs that, and we've been running it, by the way, for 20 years, collecting data for 20 years, that we've collected 10 million pieces of litter. And 85% of those pieces of litter are single-use plastic. 8 out of 10 of the top 10 pieces are single-use plastic. So not only is litter a problem, but in the Great Lakes Basin, we also manufacture. So we also have challenges with pollution coming from manufacturing all the way to the litter. So we have to be able to find solutions that reduce the amount of single-use plastic, like the worst of the worst, including foam foodware, as well as to advance really smart, sustainable solutions at the business and restaurant level. And that's what we're here to talk about today. The content experts we have are going to tell you about what to do, how to move forward as a restaurant or business owner, and begin the journey to move towards more sustainable business practices. And while it's really challenging, and I talked about the challenging data that we have about the amount of plastic pollution there is, the great news is that working together, our region can be leaders in advancing sustainable solutions. And we're going to shine a light today on how to build a healthier and more vibrant Great Lakes. So with that, I want to introduce to all of you the Illinois' amazing state senator, Laura Fine. She's been state senator since 2018. She proudly represents the 9th state district in Illinois, which includes the city of Chicago and a bunch of northern suburbs. She also was the state representative from 2013 to 2018, and Senator Fine serves as the chair of the Senate Behavior and Mental Health Committee, as in addition to the Environment and Conservation Committee. She also serves as the chair for the Great Lakes Legislative Caucus, the chair of the Illinois Senate's Green Caucus, where she has worked on a number of environmental issues, including reducing plastic pollution, reducing exposures for humans to harmful chemicals, and strengthening safety rules and regulations around carbon capture and storage. So with that, I want to hand it over to Senator Laura Fine and talk a little bit about the great work you're doing and why this is an important issue.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And thank you for everybody for really focusing on this issue, because the issue of plastics and our water is really so important now, even more so than ever, because we're seeing a lot of climate migration to the Great Lakes region. And we need to be prepared for that and make sure that we protect our water. So I think I'm going to go macro and then micro. So as Andrea had mentioned, I am the chair of an organization called the Great Lakes Legislative Caucus. And we we are made up of bipartisan legislators from the Great Lakes states and the provinces in Canada that rely upon the Great Lakes. So it is bipartisan and it is binational, because we know that whatever one state does to their waterways, it impacts the entire region. And so as a group, we really focus on what can we do to protect our water. We have been very forthcoming when it comes to plastics, when it comes to forever chemicals, when it comes to erosion, when it comes to algae blooms. This is something that we study to make sure that we can protect our waterways. And it's quite interesting because in the last, oh gosh, year especially, but even prior to that, we've really had to join together to stand up to what's coming down from the federal government and to fight to make sure that we continue to get funding for things like the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, for the Brandon Road project, because these are things that are going to impact the entire waterways. So that's what's going on at that level. Closer to home, I have been working with Andrea and a number of environmental groups on how do we eliminate polystyrene and the chemicals in Illinois, not only on our beaches, but how they impact our waters and how they impact our health. And this has been a multi-year journey. We first focused on the government. How do we eliminate polystyrene from government? And so our first step in the legislative process was making sure that government agencies do not use polystyrene products. And although that doesn't sound huge, it actually is pretty huge, because if you think about it, we have a lot of universities throughout the state of Illinois. And this, because they are a government agency, included those universities as well. This past year, we took the next step in that process, and a bill that we were able to pass through the Senate eliminates the use of polystyrene and single-use products in the restaurant business, because we know how much waste comes from those products that you cannot recycle. This was a long journey, and we couldn't do it in a silo. What was so exciting about the passage of the bill through the Senate, which we're still waiting to pass through the House, but we worked with groups that you wouldn't think the environmentalists would actually work with to get this job done. We worked and came to a conclusion with the Retail Merchants Association, with the Restaurants Association, because you can't pass this type of legislation with a hammer. You've got to do it together to make sure that it can possibly get done and that we can make sure we get the votes to get it passed. So, what this bill does is it prohibits the sale or distribution of polystyrene products as of January 1st, 2030. It is a long date, but the reason we compromised on this long date was twofold. One, we know there are a lot of restaurants who have a lot of product in their back cabinets, and we didn't want them to just throw it away. And two, we know that in the next 5 years, there's going to be a lot of innovation. So polystyrene will probably not be one of those products that's a go-to product because of the price point. We know that there's going to be a lot more affordable products that are much more environmentally friendly. So this 5-year ramp made it so the retail merchants and the restaurant association said, this is something that we can live with, because it's not just changing a light, turning off and on that light. We need to make sure that it's something that could go into effect, our people can live by it, and we could move forward. And so this is all part of the legislative process. We are also working on things in Illinois like the elimination of plastic bags, which was a bill that was also filed last year that we are still working on, and the elimination of some of the forever chemicals. And that was a bill that did pass this year in certain personal products, that they will no longer be able to use those forever chemicals. So I will tell you that no person can get this done alone. It's all these groups working together. Andrea has been a leader in the fight to make sure that we can protect our waterways and keep it clean for future generations. And all our environmental groups have really come together with industry to make sure we can get this done. So with that, I'm going to throw it back to you, and thank you so much for everything you are doing.
Thank you so much, Senator Fine. Thank you for your hard work and your tenacity. And with that, I'm going to bring in our friends from Surfrider and one of the folks on the ground doing this work at Mitch's Seafood. So CJ O'Brien at Surfrider has been working and tackling plastic pollution problem for much of her career with research on microplastic that's been published in peer-reviewed science journals and campaigns on all levels of government to tackle plastic pollution at the source. Now CJ is the ocean-friendly programs manager at Surfrider, where she supports Surfrider's grassroots network and helps restaurants and hotels reduce unnecessary single-use plastic. CJ has a master's degree in development practice from Emory and has a focus on monitoring and evaluation and environmental conservation. Annalisa Tripp is a business leader, and she is the human resources and general manager at Mitch's Seafood for over 11 years. She knows what she's talking about when she talks to you. Where she specializes in employee relations, operational leadership, marketing, vendor management, and community partnerships. She's certified in human relations management, and she is active in Surfrider San Diego as an ocean-friendly restaurant co-lead in beach cleanup. Thank you for the beach cleanup, and is passionate about sustainability. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to CJ to have us learn a little bit about what you're doing with Surf.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What a awesome introduction. Really honored to be here with you all. I'm going to share my screen. Awesome. Well, I'm excited to talk to you today about Surfrider's Great Lakes Friendly Restaurants program. Like Andrea mentioned, my name's CJ O'Brien Weddle, and I manage our ocean friendly restaurants and hotels programs, as well as the Great Lakes programs too. So before I dive into the restaurant program, I wanted to talk about Surfrider's mission. So we are a national nonprofit dedicated to the protection and enjoyment of the world's ocean waves and beaches for all people through a powerful activist network. And so what I mean by this powerful activist network is we have over 80 volunteer-led chapters and over 100 student clubs across the country. But for the sake of this call, I wanted to zoom in to our Great Lakes chapters, who are an incredible group of volunteers on the ground, working on policy, hosting educational events, doing cleanups, as well as working on Great Lakes friendly restaurants. So our Great Lakes Friendly Restaurants program is a spin-off of our Ocean Friendly Restaurants program. So if you've heard about that before, it's the same exact program, just different naming to align better with businesses in the Great Lakes region. And what it does is it celebrates and recognizes restaurants that have reduced unnecessary single-use plastic and are making more sustainable choices for the ocean, for our lakes. And how we do this is through a simple and straightforward framework. And the result of this program is a community of really diverse businesses, restaurants that can come together to showcase examples of success to influence policy as well as society. So it's a great way to show society and policymakers that a plastic-free future is possible. And we have all types of restaurants in the program. We have fine dining establishments, food trucks. We even have some dining halls on college campuses, coffee shops, really any type of restaurant you can think of, we have them in our program, which is really cool to see. And so our ocean friendly and Great Lakes friendly restaurants are making waves, a lot of great impact. We have 415 ocean friendly restaurants across the country and 10 Great Lakes friendly restaurants. We have 32 states with restaurants participating. And then collectively, we estimate that our restaurants serve about 41 million single-use plastic-free meals every single year. And I always think this map is cool to just see where they're all located. They're all over the US, definitely in our coast and Great Lakes regions where we have chapters, but we have some others in other places as well. And you can see this map for yourself at surfrider.org/GLFR to find a restaurant near you. And so getting into the nitty-gritty of the program, every restaurant must follow 7 mandatory criteria and then choose 3 out of an optional list, which I'll talk about in the next slide. But this criteria was informed by the data that we're collecting at beach cleanups. So the trash and the plastic that volunteers are seeing on their beaches or in their lakes or on the coast, that was kind of used to inform this criteria, as well as what we were seeing in the restaurant industry, where there's good alternatives, where things could move the needle, where we can move the needle and things like that. So These are the 7 criteria, mainly dealing with reduction of single-use plastic. The first, and I would argue the most important, is that only reusable foodware is used for on-site dining. So if you're sitting down having a meal, you're eating out of real forks, real plates, using real cups, and so reusables are really important for the on-site dining. The next is that paper straws are only provided upon request. So if a customer asks for them, then they will get a paper straw or a naturally occurring straw. The next is no plastic bags are used for takeout. So we ask that paper bags are used instead. We even have some restaurants that only offer takeout bags upon request as well to kind of reduce the amount of inventory. Next is that single-use utensils, straws, condiments, and other accessory items are only available upon request. This is pretty common for takeout, just making sure that if folks are taking takeout items, you're not giving them a ton of forks or knives or like condiments that they might not need. This can also be done in the store. Sometimes restaurants have self-serve where there's like condiments that they can choose from and things like that. So just making sure these plastic items and these accessory items are only available upon request by the customer. The next is that no expanded polystyrene or styrofoam is used. I know we've chatted a bit about that in this webinar already. So instead, for takeout, using paper, fiber-based, or even reusable takeout. The next is that no beverages are sold in plastic bottles. So instead, restaurants are using or serving beverages, especially in one of those like takeout fridges or coolers, in aluminum or glass or carton instead. And then finally, proper recycling practices are followed for items that can be recycled. This is very dependent on municipality, where the restaurants are located. So there's some flexibility here because we know that it's not one size fits all. So that's the mandatory criteria. So every restaurant has to follow at least these 7. And then moving on to the optional criteria, all restaurants have to follow at least 3 out of this list. So there is some flexibility there of which ones they choose. But if a restaurant follows all 7 mandatory in all of the optional criteria, then they are deemed a platinum level Great Lakes friendly restaurant and they get like special kudos for doing that. So for this criteria, it still deals with plastic reduction, but we also focus on some more broad sustainability initiatives. So we'll go down this optional list as well, and I'll explain a bit more. But the first is that discount is offered for customers that bring reusable items. Super common in coffee shops, if a customer brings their own reusable mug, incentivizing that and giving a discount for them to do that, so they're not using plastic or disposables. The next is that no single-use or bio-based plastic containers are used. So for takeout, no plastic whatsoever is used for that, instead using fiber, reusable, or paper. The next is energy efficiency efforts are in place. This can be a wide range of things, but just showing efforts are being done to be more energy efficient, having, LED lighting, energy efficient appliances, having timed lighting in storage closets or in the bathroom. There's some restaurants that have like EV chargers or solar panels. So there's a wide range of things that restaurants can do to follow this, but just showing efforts. The next is that water pollution and conservation mitigation efforts are in place. Again, there's a wide range of things, but some examples are properly disposing of fats, oils, and greases, not irrigating sidewalks, providing water upon request only, having low flow faucets or efficient appliances and things like that. The next is that vegetarian and vegan options are offered regularly. We have prepackaged items not sold in plastic. So this would be, at a deli or something where you see chips and maybe candies offered. So instead, maybe a restaurant makes their own snacks, or some bakeries have their own goods that they make, or granola, or, candies or something. If they put them in like paper packaging or glass packaging, then that would count for that criteria. The next is that composting efforts are in place. So excuse me. This could be, a service that provides composting, or maybe they compost in their backyard. And finally, if seafood is offered, that it's best choice or good alternative as defined by Seafood Watch. Monterey Bay Aquarium has a seafood watch program, or if they're getting locally caught fresh seafood, which Alicia will probably talk a bit about in her presentation. So those are the criteria items, really comprehensive and pretty straightforward, I would say, on how restaurants can become Great Lakes friendly. And so Surfrider has a bunch of resources, and we're here to support not just resources, but our volunteers, myself, we're here to kind of walk you through your journey to reduce plastic. But we have this quick guide, which goes into depth about the criteria, and then we have our ocean-friendly foodware guide, which talks about some sustainable alternatives that you can implement in your restaurant instead of plastic, as well as a decision matrix. So if you're deciding on a product, you can kind of walk through different questions and ask yourself, is this a greenwashing product? Is it really plastic free? Is it doing what it says it's doing? So we're here to help. And then quickly, I'll go over some of the benefits for joining the Great Lakes Friendly Restaurants program. The first is that it's completely free to join. You also get a complimentary window decal in the mail when you join to kind of show off your Great Lakes Friendly status. You can use our logos, our messaging. You're featured on our website in that map that I showed. So there's a lot of places where you're listed for more customers and more folks to learn about your restaurant and, try it out. We also have national vendor discounts. So there's some products that we've already vetted that are in that foodware guide that we have exclusive discounts to for being Great Lakes friendly, which can help kind of reduce the cost, the initial cost of buying the product. And then finally, we have a ton of members, ton of volunteers that are involved with Surfrider. So being involved is a great way to, yeah, um, get more people learning about your amazing establishment and being showcased on social media and blogs and things. And if you're a restaurant interested in signing up, just go to surfrider.org/GLFR. We have a really easy form where you can put all your information and sign up, and that's kind of the process. And we have a ton of amazing restaurants that are doing this. They're part of the Ocean Friendly, Great Lakes Friendly program, and they've been able to save money while doing so. A lot of times businesses come to us and say, what is this going to cost me to reduce plastic? And it's inspiring to see so many that have been able to save money. So Channel Islands Juice, I'll just walk through them. They are in Ventura, California. They're a juice bar and they only offer their juices in glass bottles. They do a bottle return system, so they've been able to save between $900 to $2,000 a year by doing this. And they get more customers in the door because they have to go and return their bottles. So it's been great for them. And then the Tiny Turtle in Florida, they are a Puerto Rican restaurant. They offer paper straws upon request. And even though paper straws are typically more expensive than plastic, they've been able to save over $3,000 by offering paper straws upon request and using less inventory. And then we have Flying Fish, which is in Portland, Oregon. They used to use bioplastic cups for their beer and all their drinks. They recently switched to stainless steel cups and they've saved about $10,000 a year, which is really staggering cost savings and inspiring to see. And then finally, well, we have Mitch's Seafood in San Diego. They switched from disposables to reusables for on-site and also switched their takeout containers to fiber-based and paper. And they've been able to see amazing cost savings, especially during their busy months. So without further ado, I'll switch it over to Annalicia to talk about Mitch's Seafood and what they've done.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Just a little bit about our restaurant, Mitch's Seafood in San Diego, California. So it was curated by 3 families, 2 of which are still very currently active and invested in the San Diego sport fishing industry. So these families came together and they really wanted to offer San Diego a taste of fresh, sustainably caught seafood options, just as they would get it straight from the rod to plated. So we also are a counter service dining. So that is everyone waits in line, they order at the counter, and then they get a number, sit down, we serve them everything else. So it's really fast paced. We're very busy. We can have lines out the door for hours. So over the last 3 years, though, we've really shifted into partnering within San Diego to focus on environmental conservation and sustainability, with hosting cleanup sites at beaches and parks with I Love a Clean San Diego and Surfrider Foundation, as well as supplying paper products in lieu of plastic single-use items for chili cook-offs around the neighborhoods. And we also really pride ourselves in supporting our local schools and town councils in anything they need. All right, next slide. Okay, so our why on why we choose sustainability. Our mission is to provide sustainable seafood options, but sustainability in all choices is really our main priority in our era of business right now. There was a point when we were serving almost every dish with 1 to 3 single-use plastic ramekins and only using single-use plastic cups for every guest. So if we factor in that we're serving over 500,000 plus people a year, that waste adds up pretty quickly over the years in business. Especially being located over the water, we wanted to make sure that we weren't adding in any extra water pollutants. So we decided to make the complete switch to reusables. We had a little nudging from Surfrider Foundation because we really wanted to, be a part of the Ocean Friendly Restaurants program. And their Foodware guide really helped us because we were using bio-based corn cups, which is just a green-washed plastic, basically. So getting a little more information in that, it was definitely a challenge. There was a lot of apprehension from our staff because they were so used to cleanup being quick and easy with just to toss everything in the trash. So the training for all the changes to switch to reusable took some time and habits to break, definitely. And then we also have a really small dishwashing area. So that was hard figuring out where everything was going to be. And we only have a 3-compartment sink and 1 rack dishwasher. So we came up with a solution to make sure we're pre-soaking all of our silverware and ramekins to help with getting our cocktail and other sauces washed out easily. You can go ahead and switch to the next slide, please. Okay. And for our cups, due to our high volume, we switched to paper water cups, and then also reusable wine cups and aluminum cups, which can be recycled. So the cost for plastic to paper cups were very minimal, like cents on the dollar. And the cost of reusable wine cups were a little bit more. They were a couple dollars in comparison, but with longevity, you can factor in at least 5 times usage compared to just 1 time with single use. And our aluminum cups were 20 to 40 cent increases. And we were able to actually get a price cut by ordering by the pallets from the ball manufacturer through our Cisco rep. So that was able to save us, a little bit more money. And then in addition, we were able to justify these product changes, not only for the environmental factor, but to make a minimal price adjustment to our menu items in order for us to not have a deficit with ordering more sustainable products. So I'm talking like 25 to 75 cent increases in menu costs to make up the increase of the switch. Yeah, and we're just really excited about having a smaller eco footprint because we serve a lot of people, and if we don't take control of it, it's the next generation is just gonna have to deal with it. All right, next slide. I think it's you now, CJ.
Yeah, thank you so much. I always say, because you showed your kitchen and that's like it's a smaller space for washing. I'm like, if Mitch's Seafood can switch, like you got to talk to Annalicia. So you're super inspiring, and yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. And with that, I'll end with the larger we grow our network of Great Lakes friendly business leaders, the more mainstream the concept of single-use plastic free becomes. So if If you ever have questions about the Great Lakes program or any of our participating businesses, you want to connect with them, learn from them, just email me at cjobrien@surfrider.org.
Thank you so much, CJ. Surfrider's leadership in this has been amazing over the years. And to hear just what it's like for a restaurant manager to make this happen is so inspiring, especially with not a lot of space and a very high volume restaurant. It's amazing and very inspiring. So thank you so very much. And with that, we're going to come back here to the Chicagoland area and the Great Lakes and talk to Allison Richards, who is the conservation practice coordinator at Shed Aquarium, where she leads the revitalization of the Let's Shed Plastic, which is a community-driven program that partners with restaurants to reduce single-use plastic and build a more sustainable dining culture across Chicago. With dual bachelor's degrees in applied economics and environmental studies, policy and management at the University of Minnesota, Allison brings a unique blend of science insight, program management, and community engagement to her work. And at Shed, she's passionate about creating accessible, inclusive opportunities for people and communities to take action. And so with that, Allison, please take us away. Take it away.
Great, thank you so much for that intro, Andrea. I'm going to share my screen really quick. All right. Thank you all for coming. Like Andrea said, I'm the conservation practices coordinator. I've been at Shed only about 6 months now, trying to revitalize and revamp our Let's Shed Plastic restaurant program, which I'll be talking about today. So Shed Aquarium is a big institution in Chicago, and we have a pretty multifaceted and dynamic approach to tackling the plastics crisis. We have a lot of different things that we do to increase our sustainability in our operations at the aquarium, as well as participating in public education at the aquarium, as well as in offsite programming. The stewardship side of my conservation team also does beach cleanup, similar to Surfrider, where we get volunteers out on Lake Michigan and we clean up the beaches, and we actually are able to track that data as well in collaboration with Alliance for the Great Lakes and track data on all of the litter that we're finding at different sites along Lake Michigan to hopefully help inform policy and debris research as well. And then we also, what I'm mostly going to be talking about is our policy and advocacy work, as well as the restaurant industry technical support, which is the program that I'll be speaking about. So the history of Shed's plastic work. Shed started officially working with plastics back in 2017. We created the Shed the Straw campaign. This was around the time that people were talking about Save the Turtles, and getting rid of single-use plastic straws was kind of a new concept. So we hopped onto that and created this really cool kind of storytelling opportunity. That was our first official time that we worked with restaurants in the Chicago area. We saw a lot of success working with Chicago restaurants, and we gained over 300 collaborators on the Shed the Straw campaign. We got some high-profile partners, as you can see the White Sox there, and we were able, this was our first chance at being able to tackle some consumer education on plastics reduction, and we learned that people really trust Shed as a credible leader in the sustainability space. So after Shed the Straw, we wanted to figure out ways to kind of make this plastics more programmatic in our work and more typical in our conservation work. We get a lot of questions as to why we specifically targeted restaurants when working to reduce plastic, and there are a few main reasons that we think that restaurants are a great target for our Let's Shed Plastic program. Like I said, with our beach cleanups, about a third of the litter that we find on those beach cleanups and report is food related, whether that be polystyrene foam foodware like that's been talked about today, or different disposable straws, forks, plates, etc. And so we see this as a great opportunity to tackle pollution more at the source and work with restaurants to prevent that waste from even entering our Great Lakes and our beaches in the first place. Through our Shed the Straw campaign, we had demonstrated success motivating and engaging restaurants, and so we wanted to keep the ball rolling. And we also see restaurant workers as great business leaders and advocates in their communities. They're great at tying together their communities, and so we view that working with restaurants as a great opportunity to help with that community education piece on plastics reduction as well. So after all of that, that led to the initial creation of the Let's Shed Plastic restaurant program back in late 2019, early 2020 time. We saw a lot of success initially engaging with restaurants. We were in conversations with restaurants from 35 different neighborhoods around Chicago, and officially were able to onboard over 150 restaurants signed on to the program, representing 12 of the 77 Chicago neighborhoods. So we saw a lot of success and a lot of enthusiasm from restaurants wanting to work to reduce their plastics. Like I said, this launched in 2019, 2020, so right around the time COVID era. And so the restaurant industry was experiencing a lot of difficulties with sustainability and even just their operations in general. So the initial launch of the Let's Shed Plastic program was very low barrier to entry, very focused on highlighting changes that restaurants were able to make and storytelling opportunities. But I came in just about 6 months ago with the main goal of kind of creating more structure to the program and making it so that we can create a little bit more measurable plastics reduction and be able to track our progress. So over the past 6 months, we've officially paused our Let's Shed Plastic program and our partnerships with restaurants, and I've been rebuilding on the back end. And I'm super excited to share that our new and refreshed Let's Shed Plastic restaurant program will be officially launching on October 16th, which is really exciting. So a little bit about the program. This is a little glimpse. It is also completely free to join, and any restaurant that's interested will set up a meeting with me and we'll talk about our core sustainability practices that restaurants will commit to, things like offering single-use plastics on request only and using reusables for their dine-in. And then from there, we created 3 different tiers where restaurants can kind of ramp up their sustainability over time, and we can also increase our benefits that we give them over time as well. So some of those benefits being a lot of storytelling opportunities, access to tools, education, and resources. And we're hoping to just make the switch to sustainability as easy as possible for restaurants to get involved with, and fun for them as well, with some like fun shed perks. The goals of the program is really to build capacity and skills for restaurants to be able to take it into their own hands to make sustainable changes. We also want to see more measurable plastics reductions, and like I said, empower those business leaders and advocates as restaurant workers throughout Chicago. So this is a quick look at our core requirements and benefits. We still wanted to keep our barrier to entry really low to be able to meet restaurants where they're at, wherever they are in their sustainability journey, and then focusing on those tiers so that we can kind of meet every restaurant where they're at, whether they're already very sustainable or they can only commit to these core requirements. So core requirements being reusables for dine-in service only, offering single-use items on request, participating in a meeting with me to talk about where you are in your sustainability journey and what goals you have in terms of sustainability and plastics reduction. And then we have a new yearly recommitment system that we'll be following. And then some of those initial benefits that restaurants can have is recognition on our website for some storytelling opportunities and just some visibility, digital assets, including a social media toolkit. We have a window decal, and then access to some of our first educational resources, support from me and other program staff, and also joining the community. We're hoping to really create a community of restaurants around Chicago where people can share and learn from each other. And we've already hosted one event this year, and we're excited to keep hosting events where restaurants can really have more face time and continue creating that community. This is a quick look at our actual tiered system for our program. There's a lot of words on this page, so I'll just go through some things pretty quickly. Like I said, you started those core requirements, and then your sustainability hopefully ramps up over time as your Let's Shed Plastic restaurant partner. We really focus on initially offering those single-use items on request only, and then eventually phasing them out completely into either compostable materials and then reusable materials, implementing good recycling procedures, implementing composting, and also some light metrics tracking so that we can keep track of our reductions and be able to track and storytell more accurately as to everything that we're doing. Some of those benefits, Shed is lucky to be able to offer some really fun benefits like Shed ticketing packages, behind the scenes experiences. You can come out and kayak with us or participate in volunteer opportunities. And then we're also excited to offer those storytelling opportunities like being highlighted in our social medias and press releases on our website. And then also one thing that I want to highlight is having the opportunity to collaborate in policy and advocacy opportunities as well. And that's one thing that I wanted to highlight that's a bit unique. Shed has a cool policy team. Our Act with Shed program creates advocacy opportunities that allows community members to get more involved with environmental policy, and it creates accessible and easy ways for people to get involved in environmental issues that they care about at the local, state, and federal level. one of those examples being the polystyrene foam foodware ban that's been talked about during this webinar. So we view this program as an easy way to connect Shed to more restaurants and be able to empower those business leaders as advocates and help them share their voice and get more connected to advocacy opportunities as well. All right, so I just did a quick run through of our program. Like I said, it'll be officially relaunching on October 16th. So if you're interested, have any questions about the program or are interested in joining, please feel free to email me any questions or interests you have at either of those two emails below. And yeah, I'm really excited to continue working forward.
Thank you so very much, Allison. It's great to see this relaunch, and we're really excited to learn more. And as you can tell, for all of those who may have come in while we were going, just want a friendly reminder that put Q&A questions in the Q&A box, and we'll be getting to those in a minute. But also you can see that we have regional organizations like the Alliance for the Great Lakes. We have Shed, deeply rooted here in Chicago, and Surfrider, that's doing wonderful national and regional work. And next up, we're going to have the honor to hear from John Charles Meyer, who is the executive director and founder of Plastic Free Restaurants. John has spent 20 years in DC doing political media, and he's been in the trenches there as someone who has spent a lot of time in DC. Condolences. And we've survived anyways. He's done major work on campaigns, and after moving to LA in his early 30s, was featured in dozens of films and TV series as an actor. And in 2020, he launched Plastic Free Restaurants, and in 2025 produced a fantastic film called Granite Rapids Moon, the first narrative film to ever be shot, with the majority of the footage inside Grand Canyon. The film is now touring. And so it is my great honor to welcome John and to have him talk more about his fantastic program. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. Thanks to CJ especially. I don't have any slides, I just talk, but I will keep it brief. What we do is pretty simple. Plastic Free Restaurants has been around for 5 years. We are a 100% volunteer-run nonprofit. We pay no salaries and no rent. 96% of the money that we bring in, mostly from grants and individual donations, goes to our subsidy program, meaning only 4% to overhead. All we do is eliminate single-use plastic from school cafeterias, restaurants, and other kitchens by subsidizing, or in some cases, entirely covering the cost of the reusable foodware that replaces it. That's it. That's all we do. We don't do anything else. If a kitchen is using single-use items that contain either petroleum-based plastic or PFAS, added PFAS, then we will help them pay for, or like I said, sometimes pay entirely for, the reusable foodware that replaces it. There are a few wrinkles to it, a little bit of fine print, but it's not terribly complicated. First off, if you're interested, you can go to our website, plasticfreerestaurants.org, and all you need to do is fill out a survey and upload your most recent 3 months of invoices for the single-use plastic that you want to get rid of. So you're using, plastic forks and styrofoam plates to serve lunches to kids. Great. Find the most recent 3 months of invoices showing the purchases for those items. And yes, we do need a full 3 months because we want to see the amount of the quantity of items that you're purchasing over time. A lot of places don't order routinely or on a particular schedule. So we combine 3 months and take a look at the average use over a month or over a week. And then fill out the survey, and that's it. If all the information that we need is there, we can literally have reusable foodware at your doorstep in a week or two. Obviously, we want to make sure that you have a plan in place to wash the reusables that you're going to be taking on, whether that means existing infrastructure for dishwashing or a 3-sink system if you're only talking about switching small things, or an offsite dishwashing service. However that works, but as long as you've got that plan in place, and we can help you get that plan in place if you don't have it already established. To date, we have eliminated 14 million single-use plastic items from 66 schools, 90 restaurants, and 14 other kitchens, including soup kitchens and Meals on Wheels and community centers and stuff like that. That's in 14 different states around the United States. For schools, we do stainless steel only. Restaurants are permitted to order whatever reusable items they want. But schools, we require to order from a pretty short list of approved vendors on our website, whose specific products we have had independently lab tested for the migration of heavy metals, nickel, chromium, cadmium, lead. And as long as they pass muster, then we put them on that list, and the schools have to choose from that list. It mostly contains forks, spoons, sporks, trays, cups, etc. The things that schools mostly order. The reason we do this is that we want to make darn sure that we're not, passing anything along to schools that potentially could contain toxins. When made correctly, stainless steel does not contain any toxins at all, but 99% of the stainless steel foodware made on the planet is made outside the United States, and import controls are not as strong as they ought to be. So you could have a bad actor overseas creating something with a toxin in it. We test them ahead of time. We make sure that the products are okay, and then we make schools choose from that list. Restaurants can choose whatever they want. If they choose items that contain 0% virgin plastic, then we cover 100% of the cost of the item. If they choose reusable items that contain any virgin plastic whatsoever, then our subsidy offer is just 25% of the cost. So you choose what you want, but if you opt for melamine bowls, for example, over stainless steel bowls or glass bowls in the case of a restaurant, glass obviously we don't do for schools because it's not very practical. But if you choose something with virgin plastic in it, then we're only willing to cover 25% of the cost of that. We can do reimbursement after the fact. So restaurants sometimes will purchase the stuff and implement it and put it into circulation ahead of time, and then just send us invoices. We can pay that way. In the case of schools, since we're almost always covering 100% of the cost, because we only allow stainless steel and therefore it's 100% subsidy, usually it's easier for us to just place the order, to have the school work with us and say, okay, this is how many we think we need. We vet the invoices that they send them. We either agree or don't agree on the numbers, and we come to terms on how many we're actually going to be supplying. And then we pick up the phone and call the manufacturer and give them our credit card, and the items are just shipped directly to the school once we know that they have a plan in place. That also is a better way to do things with schools, because in some cases we have worked out preferred pricing with a couple of our approved vendors, so we can actually get it a little bit cheaper than the schools would be able to get it on their own anyway. The only other couple things that I like to say, first of all, there is one disqualifier. So basically any kitchen anywhere in the United States that uses single-use items containing petroleum-based plastic or PFAS qualifies, with one exception, and that one exception is an existing state, municipal, or county ordinance that requires them to discontinue using the single-use item in question. So I heard the state senator talking earlier about a polystyrene ban. First of all, I think she said the ban isn't going to go into place until 2030, which is a long time. Usually we'll give a little bit of wiggle room, a little bit of gray area here, where if you implement the reusables more than 12 months ahead of the effective date of such legislation, we will help you. Not apply for the subsidy 12 months out, but actually be implementing it, using it in your kitchen more than 12 months before you're required to, then we can help you out. If it's less than 12 months, sorry, this is a mandated switch. We want to help kitchens that are making elective switches. So that's the only disqualifier. However, in that particular instance, I mean, it sounded to me, and I will admit that I was idly listening because I had some other work I had to get done, but I think she said it was just a polystyrene ban. So, okay, a school in Illinois is using polystyrene trays in 2029 when we're pretty close to the law going into effect, but they're also using polypropylene forks and polyethylene lined milk cartons. All of those things contain plastic, and the other two items of plastic, the polypropylene and the polyethylene, are not outlawed by the polystyrene ban that Illinois legislature has put into place. So we're still happy to help the schools with those items. It's just if there's a styrofoam ban in place, we're not going to help you with styrofoam. You're on your own, basically. So two things left. Number one is I like to impress upon people that small dollar amounts go an incredibly long way in this fight. We like to say on our website that $28 of stainless steel forks will eliminate 5,000 plastic forks from a school cafeteria in a school year. 28 bucks. We're not dealing in massive amounts of money. The largest subsidy I think we've ever done was somewhere on the order of $8,000 or $9,000. This is not massive amounts of money. So first of all, if you want to donate, we're always looking for additional donors. But also, it's an interesting thing to be able to throw out there to people to say, look, this really isn't that big a switch. And sometimes that comes back to bite us because schools will reach out to us and say, hey, we don't have dishwashing infrastructure. Can you help with that? We can't. We don't have the funds or the mandate to help schools purchase, install, retrofit for dishwasher purchases. The reusable items that we purchase might only cost $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, and we're happy to cover that entire cost. But the dishwasher might cost $40,000. That's a problem. That's a big, big problem. A lot of times we go after the low-hanging fruit. A lot of times, if a school comes to us with that problem, we might say to them, okay, your school, the nutrition service director for that school that just applied that doesn't have the dishwasher, I'm sorry, we might not be able to help you right now. And if your state legislature doesn't have funds earmarked for dishwasher installations for schools, then you may be stuck with that too. But is there another school in your district that has dishwashing infrastructure? Can we pick that low-hanging fruit? Can we get the reusable trays into circulation there? Because they've been using plastic since the beginning of COVID, even though they had a dishwasher anyway, and then demonstrate to you that not only is it showing better outcomes for health and for food consumption with the kids, but it's also saving the school money. Then the school district starts to catch on and they go, maybe it is worth the $30,000 investment in dishwasher infrastructure to get one into this school so that we can save $8,000 a year, $10,000 a year, or whatever. It'll pay itself off in 3 years. Finally, the last thing is, when I started this 5 years ago, I was mistakenly under the impression that the cost of the reusable items was the biggest hurdle, was the thing keeping people from doing this. That if you eliminated that financial hurdle, that financial burden, it would be a no-brainer and everybody would just be signing up. And it doesn't work that way. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but the number one problem is change. It's fear of change. This is how we do things. This is how we've done things since COVID, since we opened, since whenever. And changing it means retraining staff, rearranging our kitchen, redoing our inventory, whatever. People fear change. It's the biggest single hurdle. The number of inquiries I get and subsidy applications I get that don't follow through because somebody in the chain of command says, no, 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 we don't want to do this. It's crazy. The second hurdle is dishwashing infrastructure. The reusable stuff that we purchase, that we cover the cost of, is the third hurdle, unfortunately. It's all we're able to take on. It's our little tiny piece of the pie, but we're doing what we can. That said, in every single instance, with the exception of off-site dishwashing, we can confidently state that every single kitchen we have subsidized has saved money in the long run by going from single use to reusable. Every single kitchen. There are dozens of case studies that have been done by our partners at Center for Environmental Health and Rethink Disposable, and for that matter, probably Surfrider as well, showing that school after school, restaurant after restaurant has saved money by doing this. When you tell school administrators they can save money, their ears perk up. It's good for the environment. Eyes roll back in heads. Nobody cares. It's going to save you money. What? It really does make a difference. And the last thing, especially if I'm talking to a PTA or a school association or something like that, is that this is a health issue as much as it is an environmental issue. I mean, again, preaching to the choir, but polyethylene, polystyrene, polypropylene, all of these things contain toxins that end up in your system when you use them to put food in your mouth. And those toxins have been shown to be disruptive to endocrine systems, to reproductive systems, especially magnified in children. We're poisoning our kids by giving them food served on this stuff. So sometimes I've found that angle is more motivating to school boards and parent-teacher organizations than the money or the environmental angle. I'll stop talking. I hope that wasn't too long. If you have any questions, you can email me, contact@plasticfreerestaurants.org. And as I said, to apply, you literally just go to our website, click the link for I need a subsidy, and you need to upload your invoices as well as fill out the subsidy. That's pretty much it. I mean, fill out the survey. That's pretty much
Thank you
it.
so much, John. Just so everyone knows, you're going to receive a follow-up email with all of the information and background that you just heard. You know, I hope what everyone here that's listening understands and knows that you're not alone. If you want to go down this journey towards sustainability, we have skilled professional and experts. We have funding. We have folks ready to help. We have restaurateurs who know and can talk to you about what they've done. So I please know that if you're a business owner, if you're a restaurant owner, or if you're a concerned citizen or community leader, and you want to help people move down this sustainable journey, you have partners. And let me start our Q&A by just answering and clarifying one thing around Illinois state law and bills. So we don't have a law yet that outlaws foam foodware. It's passed the Senate, needs to pass the House. So we're close, but not quite there yet. So all of you, you'll see in the comments, and I'll again send in the information that we send out, two things. One, for citizens to contact their elected officials, but restaurants in Illinois, if you care about moving away from foam foodware, we have a letter for you to join and sign on and contact our elected officials and let them know that you're ready to go. So with all this said, one of the reasons why Senator Fine talked about the procurement bill that passed a number of years ago around reducing single-use plastic is we wanted to have proof positive in the state of Illinois that that the state procurement could actually move away from single-use plastic and the water will be just fine, right? Like the world doesn't end, the sky doesn't fall on your head. And you just heard today from a bunch of leaders talking about how not only does the sky not fall, but that you save money and you protect children and the communities that you're providing your amazing food and services to. So one of the things I just want to go back to, and John, you were just speaking about it, but I want to give everybody the opportunity, which is when you're out there talking with restaurant owners and business leaders, what are some of the barriers that they talk about? John gave a really great overview, but CJ or Allison or Annalisa, any of you want to talk about, or maybe Annalisa, do you want to talk about what fear you had before you jumped in and started going down this sustainability journey?
Yeah, so honestly, it was just the feedback from the staff because like John said, nobody wanted to change and we were so stuck in our ways and it was just easy. And really changing that mindset for everyone and, you know, streamlining like how we're gonna soak things to make it easier to clean, how we're gonna just have to add in an extra step to like dry stuff, making sure we're stocked with everything for reusable. So that was probably the hardest part. And I wouldn't even say the financial part was that hard because, you know, the owner, he was willing to listen and find different products that we could, you know, change and, you know, go down one route with another rep to figure out like what we could save money on. So that was probably, yeah, those were the two hardest things.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think in addition to what John mentioned about cost, dishwashing, fear of change, I also think there's so many products on the market. So if a restaurant is super excited and willing to switch from plastic to reusables or other types of disposable items, there's just so many products out there and it's kind of overwhelming on where to start. So that's why we created our foodware guide to kind of help with that. Of course, it's not completely like it doesn't list every product out there. There's so many. And so I think that's a big barrier is kind of like you become paralyzed with decision overload, because there is a lot of greenwashing and a lot of products out there that claim to be sustainable, but are kind of just using that as marketing claims. So that's a way that Surfrider and Shed can really help find products that work for your business and are better for the environment.
Allison, do you want to add anything? Thanks.
Yeah, just going off of what CJ said, I think that one of the main barriers to entry is just that lack of education and just time to research all of the alternatives out there. I think that so many restaurant leaders want to be sustainable, but it's such a fast-paced industry and they don't have time to sort through everything like CJ was saying. So us being able to position those choices to be made as simply as possible, I think is really important.
Thank you so much. This was a really exciting hour, and this is just the start. We're going to be sending you an email as a follow-up. Everyone who joined will have a video of this, so you can share it with your colleagues and your friends. And we're going to talk and provide you resources that you just heard about today, and ways to link with John if you want to get some resources to begin your sustainability journey, to learn with Surfrider and Shed about and learn from business owners about how you yourself can move in that direction. And we're going to stay in touch with you. We don't think this is a one-stop deal, and we think that this is a long-term sort of relationship building partnership across our Great Lakes Basin to make sure that we move towards a more sustainable future. Those of us at the Alliance for the Great Lakes, we're going to keep moving smart public policy, helping our citizens clean up our beaches with partners like Shed and Surfrider. And we're going to continue to advance work and provide business leaders and restaurant owners tools for their toolbox to be able to move in a really positive direction. So I want to thank everyone for taking an hour out of their very busy day. Again, we will be back in touch with you very soon. And I hope you have a brilliant last day of September. Take care.